Well, Keith, the biggest Manchester City news of the week is Kevin De Bruyne confirming his exit from the club at the end of this season. Do you think this is the best move for both the club and the player?
Yeah, I think so. Look, there's no doubt. I think we all know what a great player he is. Also, what a thoroughly decent guy he's been. I think wherever you hear people talking about him, they say personally, as much as anything else, he's a real superstar. I think it is right. I think Man City are going to have to go through the refresh that we've been talking about for some time, and there's no doubt De Bruyne is a central part to that. But he's got to be replaced, and I think it's a great acknowledgement from City, and I think it shows a bit of class that they're prepared to let him go at the right time to allow him to move forward. And I think it shows that the club's doing the right thing in letting him, make the next move in his own career in the right way, in a classy way. So I think it's good for both parties. He'll be missed, I'm sure. He's given a lot to the British game. I've loved watching him, as everybody else has. And yes, good luck to him.
And San Diego FC have kind of made some sort of announcement that they are not interested in signing De Bruyne. Where do you think his next move is? The MLS? Is it Saudi? Is it still playing in the top 5 leagues at the highest level?
Well, from what I heard, he's certainly San Diego would be his preferred option in the MLS, is what I'm still hearing. However, when I say preferred, those dollar signs, pound signs that are ringing from Saudi do make you think twice, and I think that may be an ultimate option. But I do believe lifestyle-wise and for other reasons, San Diego would be a great place, and I think that would be preferred for many reasons. However, as I say, there's a commercial reason that it may well be Saudi, and I think that would suit him quite well. Actually, some of the clubs in Saudi would suit him well, but. These days, these players can make decisions not necessarily based on commercial factors these days, and so he'll be thinking twice about it. But that's what I'm hearing, is that San Diego is where he'd like to go. But as I say, those numbers keep on coming into your back of your mind, I'm sure.
And Manchester City fans held protests against ticketing policy. How likely are the club actually to react? It's a little surprising to see that after all the success they've had in the last few years, obviously.
Yeah, look, I mean, you've got to look at it that Man City have been built on the money that's come in from Sheikh Mansour. I can't remember how many years it is now, 12, 13 years, whatever, since they've been going at this. And, City fans should be counting their blessings. But look, I understand. I think there's two things about the protests. And certainly it was quite effective at the weekend when they didn't come in till the 9th minute. I mean, the stadium did look pretty empty at that time. But I think there's two things. I mean, and it surprised me actually that the average kid's ticket is now about £35, which is a lot higher than I expected. So that is getting towards the high side. And also the fact that so many tickets are starting to reappear on secondary ticketing sites, the Viagogos, etc. I think that's part of the fans' unrest as well. So those two factors are pointing to that. But you've got to say, historically, the nickname for the Etihad for many years was the Empty Had, because it wasn't selling out, and there were many games that it was difficult, and the City fans did not have that sellout factor. So you can't blame City for making these commercial decisions. Overall, look, it's something that's been built on money, and therefore it's a thirsty animal, and you've got to keep feeding that animal. And so, the fans now have got to accept they're on that roller coaster of cash, and I'm afraid what comes with that is the need to keep on feeding that monster. And City are at that level, and so commercially, the fans are going to have to bear their share of the burden as well, because Sheikh Mansour has certainly stumped up his part of the bargain.
And Man City are accusing the Premier League of distorting rules in Arsenal's favour. You think there'll be further legal action on the way about this?
Well, when I looked at that, you've got to remember there's a couple of factors here as well, in that the APT, the Associated Party Transactions, we're still in the, where would I put it? It's almost like in limbo, when we're waiting for a decision to see if those rules were valid at the time. Now, this is all linked to those Associated Party Transactions, because Man City have said it seems pretty unfair that if we're going to get penalised for taking money from our sponsors, why aren't you penalised for taking money from your owners? And to me, it makes common sense, and it was always the weakness in the argument. And so I think City do have a case. But the bigger picture, I think, is piling more leverage onto the Premier League before any final decision is made on the 115 charges. And again, as I've been saying all along, and my big hope has always been this would be resolved, out of court in some way and come to some sort of settlement. This seems to me that City are again producing more and more cards in terms of their strength of negotiating a settlement. And that's, to me, seems to be what could be going on behind the scenes. Look, I've no idea. This is something that they've kept. The whole secrecy around the 115 charges case has been commendable. There's been no leaks at all as far as I'm concerned. But that's what I think the politics of this point to, is City are doing well in terms of negotiating their position on how to try and get this resolved. So there we are.
And the Premier League accounts show administrative expenses reached £200 million in 2023-24. Are they set to rise significantly this season after the Man City 115 charges case?
Well, out of that 200 million, I think 77 of it was an increase in administrative charges, of which I know a large chunk of that will have been legal fees. Now, obviously, City is the main legal case that's been going on, but there have also been, as you know, the hearings with, Forest, Everton, and I'm sure other associated legal things. So I only see that getting bigger as more and more sort of legal situations start to occur. This is exactly why I've been asking for these sort of things to be negotiated outside of court and to try and make court really a last resort. And right now it tends to be the first resort. Look, that money is coming out of the shareholders' distribution. And so those 20 shareholders, the clubs themselves, will be starting to say, hang on, that's coming out of our pockets. And so hopefully common sense will start to prevail and they're going to try and cut back. But certainly for the next year or two, yes, I do see an increase in those sort of admin fees, i.e. legal fees, as the main factor. And yes, I think it could go, 200, even up to 300 again next year. And that's a lot of money for the, even though I think the overall Premier League revenues was roughly about 3.3 billion. Still, that's the 0.3 now is coming into sight as a sort of an amount. So it's not great. And I think we've got to try and clamp down on these things because it's such a bad look for the game anyway.